This conversation on the SML deal, for me, is a litmus test in our fight against corruption. Yesterday, I was telling someone that in fighting corruption and in ensuring that you prosecute those who have been engaged in corrupt activities, we know it is a complex and sometimes a very difficult enterprise because of some of the legal complexities that comes with issues of this nature. But the SML deal, even to me, a non-lawyer, with all the facts that are available, it appears as a low-hanging fruit that should be easy for any country, any state interested in fighting corruption to prosecute. Because right from the word go, every constitutional provision, every procurement law has been breached. Article 35(8) of our 1992 Constitution speaks to ensuring that the state must take steps to eradicate corruption. And when it comes to procurement, whether the Public Procurement Act, whether the original Act of 2003 or the amended Act in 2016, Section 38 speaks to the fact that competitive tendering is the default method in procurement. Now, in the absence of competitive tendering, there must be a specific justification for which reason sole sourcing should be employed as the method. And all those justifications or conditions are clearly spelled out in our laws. One is that the company or entity being engaged must have some specialized knowledge or expertise in that area, for which reason no other company or entity is capable of providing. Another reason should be that it must be a national emergency. So, for example, there is the outbreak of a disease, and you want to engage a company to provide maybe medications. Maybe going through the competitive tendering may take so much time, and that by the time the drugs arrive, the impacts of the disease or the outbreak could harm the citizenry. So for which reason you are allowed to engage in some sole sourcing of a sort and some other reasons. Now tell me, the contracts for which SML was engaged, a company that is an offspring of a timber company with no prior experience or expertise in the said area, under which reasonable government could such a company be given a contract based on sole sourcing? And for 8 good years, they were allowed to milk this state, looted our resources, and those who were at the forefront of that looting are afraid, or they are not even willing to come and submit themselves to the security agencies for investigations to take place. We are simply not angry enough.
In fact, because let me slight talk you a little bit. We talk about competitive tendering.
Yes.
Explain to the people why that is beneficial when it comes to any type of contract. Why will a government engage in that? We know we want to get the best value for money. Is that right? Yes,
you want to get the best value for money, and you also want to open up for companies who have the capacity. And so, if, for example, I am leading an institution, say NPA, and I want to award a contract for some jobs to be done at NPA, if you allow for competitive tendering, the wider scope, people from all over the world who have the competence and the qualification to execute that contract will go through the due process. But if you limit it to sole sourcing, I am guided by my limited knowledge, maybe my relationship with Solomon, And so even when Solomon is not capable of executing the contract, I bring him in and say, I am giving you this contract based on sole sourcing. And so there is no competition where various companies, different companies are submitting a bid indicating how much they will charge or how much they will spend in executing the project. And so the entire deal, the entire SML deal with no apology is a corrupt practice. It was a corrupt deal cooked to serve the interests of those who were in power. And I want to make a passionate appeal to the Attorney General that you may disagree with me, but I'm not comfortable with the fact that it is only the OSP that is handling this matter. I am not, as an individual. You may disagree with me. The Attorney General's office and other institutions, be it Yoko, all of them must enter and ensure that this matter is prosecuted early, because it is a test of our collective responsibility towards these states.
So what do you say? It's not enough that it's just the OSP handling this?
In my view, in my personal view, it is not enough that only the OSP is handling, because since the formation of the Office of the Special Prosecution, I am finding it difficult to identify how many cases they have successfully followed through from the beginning to the end and prosecuted. I maybe have not read enough about the operation, but I think that they are challenged. We must get to the bottom of this issue, because the deal has some fundamental flaws. I've spoken already about the fact that they violated all the procurement laws. And this morning, shockingly, I saw another document said by my good friend Manasseh that on 3 different occasions, the Public Procurement Authority, the institution mandated to review all procurement activities by the state, on 3 different occasions rejected their call, rejected their application for the contract to be awarded to SML on sole sourcing basis. And yet they went ahead to award the contract because people came into office with a predetermined mindset, cooked to come and loot this country. And so that agenda must succeed at all costs. So even when the PPA rejected, denied them the chance to use sole sourcing to award SML the contract, they still went ahead to do so. And so the entire deal, the opacity in the entire deal calls for prosecution. Number 3 is the fact that, interestingly, there is no value for money audits or reports since the implementation of the SML deal. No value for money. Now, if you are contracting a company to come and block revenue leakages, in your view, to come and improve revenue mobilization, and it was such an important exercise to you, and that is why you disregarded all public procurement laws, and that is why even when the PPA asked you not to proceed, you went ahead and awarded them the contract. And for 8 years, we are yet to see a single report showing us that before SML came into the scene, this was how much GRA was raising. And after coming in, they have been able to block leakages to this amount, for which reason the over 1 billion that was paid to them is justified. No report of that matter. So people came into office, and in the first quarter of 2017, decided to form a company from a timber company, award them this contract, violating all public procurement laws, and it was just a machinery set up to loot the states. These are low-hanging fruits, and I expect our anti-corruption agencies to go after this matter and make sure that prosecution is done. Because, Ellen, we have gotten to a point where the public have lost confidence and trust in political leadership.
In fact, that was going to be my next question.
Yes, because for 8 years, some of these issues were raised. that even when the president then, President Akufo-Addo, was pretending to be fighting corruption, he himself issued a presidential directive and asked KPMG to audit this particular transaction. Has he taken any action on it? Even when it was clear in the KPMG report that the likes of Manasseh and all the investigative journalists who revealed or brought out some revealing facts about this deal were justified. But the president disregarded. The deal was still in implementation. The people were still milking the state until we lost office. And I want to plead with President Mahama and cabinet that Ghanaians are watching us. How we deal or navigate our way around this SML deal, this SML contract. If people go unpunished, if people are left off the hook in this matter, the trust and confidence in our ability to fight corruption will be eroded. And it's a dangerous threat for our democracy. This SML deal, without mincing words, is a corrupt deal cooked by the previous administration and cooked by people in high offices, people linked to the president, people who had familial relationships with President Akufo-Addo. And this deal must be investigated, and those who ought to be prosecuted must face prosecution for it.
Now, Edem, you seem quite clear in your mind that this particular deal gave the people of Ghana no value for money. You also talked about the OSP being the only institution now seemingly looking into this matter. You talk about public fatigue and skepticism that the Ghanaian people have about the endless corruption probes that we're told about, but we don't seem to get any finality to this. What is your government's assurance then that we're going to see something different this time around? And I test the temperature on social media and beyond, and I can tell you the the everyday Ghanaian wants to know, when are we actually going to see some action, probe after probe? How do you assure the people that Aura was a big campaign promise, and every day you're being asked, how far?
Well, I am confident that my government, our government, is committed to the fight against corruption. The lawyers have a saying that the wheels of justice grinds slowly. I know Dr. Dominic Ayine very well, and I have so much confidence in him. I know his Deputy Justice very well, and I have so much confidence in him. I want to believe that they are doing a meticulous job. They want to ensure that by the time they are ready to go to court, they will have watertight evidence. I want to believe. So let me appeal again to the people that, yes, we want prosecution, but we don't want a situation where your attorney generals will do a shoddy job, get to the court, and based on some technicalities, they will lose their cases. Because we have seen some of those things in the past where clear cases of corruption that Ghanaians expected the government to prosecute people, the state, to win those cases, based on some technicalities, some of those issues were struck out of court. We can talk about the Ghana at 50 and some others. And so I want to believe it is for a good reason why it appears as though government is delaying or is not too fast as we are expecting. So I want to believe. But again, it's also important for those of us in office to understand that in all the promises that we made, and I was on the campaign, I visited every region. In addition to my own constituents, I visited every region to campaign. I interact with the young people, I interact with the people of Ghana. Let me tell you the truth, beyond the big push, beyond 24-hour economy, and all the other promises to create jobs, one of the single promises that the Ghanaian people will use in judging whether or not the NDC has been a good government will be the promise of Aura.
Right.
Because Ghanaians are crying for accountability, and so we have to appeal to those who are working directly in the space to ensure that Aura is fully executed, that Ghanaians want to ensure that the items, the things, resources that were looted, we recover them.
Right.
Ghanaians want to see the prosecution of those who led the wanton dissipation of state resources over the last 8 years. Ghanaians want to see the collapse of the political gangster movement that was put in place simply to loot resources of this country. Ghanaians want to see a country
right.
where corruption is unattractive. They must rise up to the occasion and ensure that, especially starting with this SML deal, those who were involved, everybody must be brought to book. It was a corrupt deal.
Edem, thank you so much.
I'm convinced that we must prosecute people.
Thank you so much. Edem is very passionate this morning. Dr.